3, 2, 1. What's up, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. My name's Ash. And look at this. Issue 12 of Hawkman. I just finished it. Holy shit. Had to wipe my eyes. Got a little bit misty. This was an epic book. I get a little bit afraid when I'm reading this book because I'm just like, can it stay this good? Is it going to dip? It's like when I watch Game of Thrones. I get so worried about watching it because like it's got to fail sometime. It's got to fail. It can't be good forever. And nope, this wasn't. This was a terrific bookend. As issue 7 was the first arc, you got a retelling, not a retelling. You got a definitive version of Hawkman's origin, and when they did it in this really cool way where they didn't necessarily rewrite his origin, like do any retcons and stuff. What they did was they said all that stuff that we told origins in the past, those were just pieces of the puzzle. And this, we're going to put it all together, and we're going to give you this final thing that says why those things and connect those dots. And you're just like, oh, wow, that's so cool. So old fans don't have to sit there and be like, oh, you retcon the shit that I liked. Because that always sucks. I totally get when that happens. So cool. And then you read the next part of the story, which is, okay, now that you know the origin, you know where Hawkman comes from, why he exists, then you've got his great nemesis, the Deathbringers, and you're like, okay, now it's on. Now we're going to get the story of Hawkman trying to somehow save the Earth from the destruction of the Deathbringers. And wow, you get this excellent, exciting story. And what hit me upside the head was this was yet another addition to his origin. Man, speaking of origin stories, I look forward to this. This is out now. Haven't read it yet, but it's Joshua Williamson. So we start off in the past with the original Qatar Deathbringer. Spoiler alert, he used to lead the Deathbringers. And his right-hand man, oh gosh, why do I always forget his name? I always have these weird, really, dog? Really? Yeah, thanks. Okay. So they're talking about, they've just slain another world and all this stuff. And Hawkman saying, time changes everything. Worlds change. People change. I am changed. Edom, that's his name, Edom. Now, in the skies above London, if you've been following the story, you understand Carter Hall, the current version of Hawkman, has taken all the Hawkmen in the past. The story leading up to this arc was him revisiting different points of his life because he is constantly reborn, reincarnated as a new being. And he has been human, he's been alien, he's been all over. And in this story arc, what he's done is he's, instead of going into those timelines and finding keys to his past and things, he's brought all the timelines to him. So now we see him as an army, and it's fantastic. And this is Qatar All of Krypton. And so, yep, on Earth, you can imagine. And he tells them, Hawkman, I brought you here from across time and space to help me attack the Deathbringer ships, save the captives. I'll deal with their general. And so he also says, long ago, I cast out the Deathbringers. I chose life. But changing didn't erase my history. It made me realize I have a lot to make up for. Cataclysm conclusion. Out of many, one. Here's the art team. This is the final issue with Brian Hitch. Robert Venditti will continue. And so we get these massive Deathbringers. There's London down below. That's how big these things are. These are ginormous. One toe is bigger than a building. So, these are like miles high. And they're essentially Death Stars, right? They got these super weapons, and they're charging primary weapons at 70% charging. And they've been commanded to annihilate the planet. And Hawkman shows up. You and me, Edom! To the end of the world's great betrayer. And so they have a one-on-one fight. And then meanwhile, the other Hawkmen split into sorties, pick a target, disable their weapons. And so they're going to try to stop the giant robots. You say you're different now, that you can't be killed. so I won't hold back. And his mace comes to him just like Thor's hammer. You can keep your life. I will kill your will, says Hawkman. And it's just like, oh, damn. And then you get this really cool shot of just he's punching through a building. And then boom. If you thought Hawkman, like I mistakenly did, was just some dude with wings, nope. He does have some super strength and endurance, and he's not like Superman, but he's not just a normal dude either. It's been too long since we slaughtered a Kryptonian, as he's ripping open part of the robot. Primary weapons at 80%. And he falls away. Then you see him flying back. He's like, this world's not Krypton Deathbringers. Primary weapons at 90%. You're like, oh shit. And I will see that it survives. And then meanwhile, you get the giant Carter Hall Hawk kaiju thing from metal just like pounding on it. It's just like boom, boom. Like, damn, that's awesome. You're right about something, you dumb. I shouldn't have left the Horde. Stop! And Carter Hall is just beating on him. I want my old rank back. Stop! Jeez, dogs, come on. They're excited about this comic too, I tell you. Hold them off. I'll get the charges. 95%. Stop! And this is something I have not seen in comics in a long, long time. Where the villain, the nemesis, is exposed like a bully, right? When you stand up to him, and then he's crying uncle, right? He's the guy with slaughter worlds and everything, but now he can't take even himself getting a little beat up. And it's humiliating for him. It's just everything like he deserves. And it's something that you don't see comics do to villains very often. And I was like, this is kind of refreshing. I know it's been done before, but not nearly so long. And at first I was like, man, what a pussy they turned the villain out to be. And then as I was reading it, I was like, no, that's the point. This is a story of where the bad guy who talks a tough game and hurts all these people, he's just a bully and he's not strong. That's what they're showing, that Carter Hall is the strong one, 96%. Red Harrier, we need more time. There isn't any. And meanwhile, I just love how it's ticking back and forth between Hawkman and they're trying to stop this thing. Really, dog, seriously. That's the star of the show. Okay, come on. Really? Keep going. Jeez. I'll rip your generalship from you piece by piece. And Hawkman rips off one of his wings. 99%. Charges set, evac. And you get this sort of like Return of the Jedi Death Star scene. That's what it reminded me of a little bit. You got the charges and it's like, boom! Main reactor offline. And you keep going back to Carter Hall and their fight. There went your spine. Next goes your spirit. I am a warrior of worlds. My fight spans lifetimes. You never had a chance. And from a singular issue, it kind of just seems like, oh, he's just kind of, but like this is a build up over, this is the 12th issue of Carter Hall building up to this point. So it's a super payoff. If you just read this like now, you're just like, oh, well, he's just a wussy in Carter Hall. It feels cheap, but it's not. When you put the whole story together, Carter Hall has finally reached the pinnacle of who he can be. I love this character. I forget what his name is, but he's essentially one of the lifetimes of Carter Hall. And he just looks so cool. Firing sequence interrupted, and you see, look who that is. Super Hawkman. And then once again, back. There's flip-flopping back and forth. Still, one warship remains, Qatar. Enough to burn your world. And then Qatar pulls his head back. I want you to watch this next part, Edom. Look, up in the sky. That's no bird. I was told Earth's yellow sun endows Kryptonians with lasers from our eyes. That I'd like to see. Da 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 da. Super Hawkman. Primary weapon firing and just boom. Rips right through his whole body, boom, 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 just great action scenes. And you're just like, gives you chills because it's like this buildup. And you knew that the Kryptonian Hawkman existed in the past, but now to see him brought into the present, and then utilized, to be like, oh shit, what would Hawkman be like if he was also Superman? No, it's done. Your blood campaign has bled out. There's only one thing left for you to do. Who is the general of the Deathbringers? The Horde knows the answer. You know the answer. Who is the general? You are the general. And then, very good. He starts picking up his mace. Forgive me for wanting to hammer this point home. But boom! You're just like, holy shit, dude! You had this coming. And it just feels so satisfactory. And he says, you always had a thick head. Just lying down, beaten. Deathbringers, I command you once more. And they recognize, if any wishes to challenge me, I'll meet you in the sky. Or let this be the end at last. And then he's like, then return to your ships, free the captives, and await my orders. What do you know? The new guy pulled it off. He did indeed. And yet, one Deathbringer steps forward. Now, I'm going to leave it at that, because that is most of the book. There's a little bit of spoiler on this. I really want you to read this book. I hate spoiling this book because I don't want people to have an excuse not to read it. It is so good. I've shown enough to show why it's good, and this is a payoff too. Every part of this book is a payoff, and you feel like, oh man, 12 issues, it reinvented Hawkman. And not only that, but it told this amazing adventure story full of heroics and saving the world. And there was no cheap banter, no super self-impressed dialogue, no extra exposition, no nonsense. This is a superb comic in every single way. I cannot recommend this book enough. As an ongoing series, it is, in my lifetime of reading comic books, I have rarely read anything this quality as an ongoing. Usually if you want something this level, you need like a mini series that is well thought out, probably was written, took a year or two to write and put into 6 issues or not, with 9 issues. The things like Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, those aren't ongoing series. And, when a writer has time to really sit down and flesh out their ideas, they can do a lot. But when you have to just churn out a book month after month after month, it can be difficult. So massive props to Brian Hitch here. I don't know how he continues this. This is an excellent story. I don't know where it goes from here because I don't want to spoil where it ends finally. But the sky's the limit. To kind of have a pun there. Fantastic in every way. I'm going to keep this short. Hashtag read Hawkman. Please, if you like good comics, don't be one of those people that sits back and complains, oh, there's no good comics and DC sucks. If you're not buying this book, you have no room to complain. You have no room. You are skipping out the good books and just wanting to be a naysayer. Everyone should be collecting this book. I found, on Free Comic Book Day and I was hunting for books, I found multiples of every issue in my store's back issue bins for like cover price. So I'm guessing you could easily do the same. Maybe you could even get a bulk collection on eBay for less than cover price if you buy it total. This is something that anyone should be proud to have in their collection. That, when someone comes over as a normie and it's like, oh, comics, and they just pull this out and go check this out. And you don't need to be a Hawkman person. I'm telling you, I was not a Hawkman person. I actually thought Hawkman was dumb before I picked this up. And, but no more. And Venditti's transformation, his new definitive redefining of Hawkman has turned this character into something that was cornballish to me into one of the coolest characters at DC or comics ever. 2 thumbs up, 5 stars, just move the needle, all that junk. Thanks so much for watching. There's the alarm. Time to stop. It's time for another JL8 webcomic, number 24 by Yale Stewart. Well, that's the first day for the books. Yeah, I'm exhausted. Me too. I wish Barry would walk home with us. Yeah, 'cause Barry's capable of walking anywhere. True. Help! That man just stole my purse. Nobody robs a Nana. Wait for me, guys. That went pretty good. You kids aren't gonna get away with... Yeah! Boink.